Hey, Eddie,
Yes.
turn your mic up a little. You're
How's
coming in quiet.
how's this?
A little better. Keep going.
Mic check
Just,
1
just,
2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
just
My
make
name
love.
is Peaches, and I'm the best. All the DJs want to feel my breast. Hic. Oh, I'm sorry.
With your headphones turned up, looking like a doll. And pillow talk to solve your problems, another to break your fall. So here we go again, it's a race to cut ties, the mental.
Hello everyone, welcome to World 1-1 Podcast, the show also known as the turn wreck of professionalism. I don't know where we have that name, but whatever. I'm Adrian Nieto. I'm going to be the host today, even though I promised myself I won't be the host again, but that's just the way it is. Joining me today is Papa Bear himself, Larry Giver,
What up, foes?
and the man that does it all and does a little bit more after that, Eddie D.
Paper Mario Color Splash is the game of the year. Yas. Just yas.
Don't lie. All right, let's move on to the important episode that we have today, a very special episode because we have our first guest. Well, not our first guest, but our first
Yeah, he's our first
interview, I should
guest.
say, right?
He's our first guest.
Oh, is it? All right, there we
Yes.
go. I don't even know my own show.
Wow.
But joining us from, and I think I'm pronouncing this right, Cycloptic Media? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
exactly
so-
right.
Joining us is Robert Kramer. How you doing, man?
Yay!
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not bad. We're very excited to have you here. Before we get to the main reason why we have you here, though, let's just get to know you a little bit more. So let's just answer some very simple questions like, who are you? What do you do? What kind of things you like? Stuff like that.
Sure. My name's Robert Kramer. I studied 3D animation in college, and I was wanting to get into making, the typical 3D games. And after I graduated, I kind of did more graphic design sort of things and worked on a few movies in the art department. And and then, I don't know, more recently, I started a new project, which I know we're going to talk about. But yeah, I think I just generally come from a creative background, and yeah.
So so you like animation and illustration and stuff like that. Do you
Definitely.
like obviously video games as well and board games? I'm guessing. What other kind of things do you like enjoy?
Outside of the game world, I play some guitar and a little bit of everything. My wife has a soap company I help out with, so
Nice, very cool.
making novelty things. Yeah,
There you go.
Oh, and what is
everything
the
creative,
and what is the name of that soap company?
It's called Dirty Ass Soap.
Oh, I
Say,
remember
I think-
now.
I think you've got an untapped market that you could be totally playing to here. You could totally corner the market on distributing soap to like prisons everywhere that just have the words "Do Not Drop" stamped on it.
Oh my god. See, this is what I tell you. This is how things usually go. It's just like goes all over the place. So now I was listening to your. We're here, although let's just start by saying that we're here because you just launched a Kickstarter for the Decoder Ring organization, which is like a mail order mystery game. However, you mentioned on your video and the previous interview with Nerd Overdrive that you participated in some game jams and you were also involved in a previous Kickstarter. So let's go for the game jams first. Like, which game jams were those? What kind of projects you worked on? Stuff like that.
I participated in the Global Game Jam. I think for 3-4 years at SU in New York, and Yeah, they kind of give you the theme and then you get together a group. It wasn't the sort of thing where I came in with a group of people that I knew. So it was meeting all new people and forming something from nothing. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I've been into a couple of them already. Although I've only been in one where I didn't choose my team. I was just like, all right, this is it's a group of random people, and I just kind of like joined them. But like, just for everybody that doesn't know, though, a Global Game Jam is this yearly event in which, like all over the world, people get together and they try to make a game in 48 hours. There's like universities participating and like different like non-profit stuff and a bunch of really cool stuff basically, and you can see a bunch of really cool interesting games or really crappy ones, let's be honest, from all those game jams. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm on the crappy camp of game jams.
Yeah, well, you only get the weekend to make it, so
exactly. Yeah, it's 48
what
hours.
can you? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Was there one of those projects that you really like enjoy working on? Like, which one is your favorite or something?
The game jam things. I liked two of them a lot. I think one of them was the theme. I forget the exact theme, but it had to do with heart. So we went with a heart attack theme, and we did like a Tetris style thing where it was an artery though, and pieces were coming down and clogging to the sides, and you had to kind of break them up.
Cool.
I thought that one was really funny. And then, like, there was a little timer on the side that's like a piece of food, like someone's eating it,
Oh,
Can you survive this cheeseburger?
Yeah. And it was done,
always...
Yeah,
Have you ever wanted to like go a little bit more? Like you create that game and that game jam and just be like, I wanted to like flesh this out a little bit more. Have you ever thought about doing that or anything?
Definitely. It's tough because you just meet the people there, and then whether or not anything happens afterwards can really be up in the air. But there was another, like the first one I participated in. It was a music themed one where you had to. It was a side scrolling game that I did the art for, and you had to move to the beat, like kind of like a Guitar Hero sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you could only move on the beat, and if you messed up, you'd fall in a pit. Like you had to make sure you jumped on that beat, sort of thing. So that was fun too.
Makes you kind of think of like some of the music stages from Rayman Legends.
Yeah, or like Beat Trip Hero that you enjoy a lot. It's basically, at least the way I see it, it's mostly like a rhythm game where you're just trying to like always follow the beat and stuff like that.
There was
I
would say there was a rhythm game for 3DS that Nintendo did. Like you had to stay on beat, and if you mess up, I know Rhythm Heaven is definitely one of them, where you always have to constantly stay on beat to get to the level. But that platforming one, it was one game that Nintendo did.
I don't remember it. However, I think we can all agree that Rhythm Heaven has to be the greatest rhythm-based game ever. It's just so fun.
NDP Aegis beats it out.
It doesn't.
Good trip for life, fools.
You also work on a
Literally,
Kickstarter,
on everything always.
Robert, you also work on a previous Kickstarter, though, which you did the art for. What was that project about?
So that was, I didn't actually run the campaign. I did the artwork for it, but my friend did he has a company called The Vegan Zombie where he does a cooking show. He has like a YouTube cooking show, but it's about like vegans surviving the zombie apocalypse or something. So I did like a graphic novel illustration that kind of starts the cookbook off. So it was really cool.
That's very funny. Did that Kickstarter succeed? Like, what happened with it?
Yeah, no, he blew the goal out of the water. He was actually approached by Kickstarter afterwards for all sorts of interviews as like one of the most successful Kickstarters at the time. So,
oh, that's amazing. There you go.
Yeah,
cool. That's
it's kind of funny. He'll show up on like some of the weirdest Kickstarters ever done, those sort of like BuzzFeed things and whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out though. I haven't put in the time to check that. That's pretty cool. So now the main reason why we're here, though, your new project again, the Color Ring organization, which is like it's kind of hard to explain. So I'm actually gonna leave it to you to do so. So like, what is the project about?
Yeah, it is like it's a simple idea, but yeah, it is a bit to explain. It kind of is two things. Like, part of it is just like the genre and the feel of it, and that's like a mystery, true crime, sort of solving your way through, and very like story-driven kind of thing. Which is an interesting thing, but then the other half of it is how you actually play it, which isn't like a normal video game. It's actually a physical game, but it's not a tabletop game. How it works is you're mailed packages and letters over the course of about 8 weeks, and it's 18 to 20 packages, and that kind of depends on if you solve certain clues, you get extra packages. And yeah, as you open them, they kind of start unraveling a story that you're supposed to kind of really get into, and I actually game tested it with a bunch of people, and I wasn't there for all of them, but the ones I was, it was really interesting to see them they're like hanging up like papers and like oh wait, it was on this clue, this thing, and so yeah, it's there's a lot to it, but it's simple to think about, but it's complicated to explain, kind of.
It feels like a mystery meets real life adventure games. Like how you do adventure game, something like fitness, right? Like you're searching for clues, and those clues help you solve the mystery. But everything is being now done in real time. And definitely when you said mystery, I was sold. I was just like, what? You doing a mystery? Let me find out more about this Kickstarter.
Nice,
Yeah, that's what originally attracted me to it. I see, as a game developer, I check Kickstarter pretty much on like a weekly basis, right? Like I'm always seeing like which new projects are up there, which ones are interesting, which are about to like meet their goal, or they're nowhere near close to meet their goal. Just to like to study them and see where everything went right and where everything went wrong. But I mostly check the video game section, right? Like I don't usually go to like board game. Well, sometimes I check tabletop games, but I don't check like comic books or like graphic novels or anything like, or movies or anything like that, right? So it was interesting when I stumbled upon this on the Nerd Overdrive group. I was just like, hold on, like this is like far too out there. Like I've never seen anything like it, and it's really cool. Especially I've been getting a lot into tabletop and board games lately. I just like have it in my mind right now, and it's just like, oh, this is something worth talking about for sure. But again, it is kind of hard to explain. So like, if you can just, we're gonna put a link to the Kickstarter page. So you just go ahead and check that out, so you can see for yourself what the project is about for sure. Can you? Sorry,
I had a question. Something you touched on. You mentioned that depending on whether or not you pick up certain clues will determine whether you get certain packages. I'm curious, versus like the Mysterious Package Company that does stories like this via mail, but they're just telling stories. There's no interactive component. How are you interacting with the game?
So there's, I haven't actually done a Mysterious Package, so I don't want to misspeak about anything. So I'm not 100% sure, but from what I've seen, how you interact is with ours, you solve the clues. So trying to give an example without ruining anything,
Let's say you're given a cryptogram, and you solve this cryptogram, and I guess the answer that you get from the cryptogram leads you to the next clue, and then when you get that next clue because you solving the cryptogram, you send off the next package. I'm assuming.
It's similar to that, yeah. And there's to get the feedback, which maybe is kind of what you're asking about.
Yeah.
Like, how are you receiving the feedback on what somebody's solved?
So besides the packages,
sent out or not sent out.
Right. Besides the packages, there is also a web component. So there's a bunch of in-game websites too. So I'll make up something that's not in the game real quick. So if you find out about a book that's in a library or something that's in part of the story, and there's a you know the number, you can check it out or something, and it'll quote get sent to you, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So there's essentially a functioning website where you're inputting, what you figured out, so that you, as the person running the game, knows, what clues or packages to send out next or not send out, depending on what someone's figured out.
Right, and I mean, a lot of there's only a few like that throughout the game, like it would become a huge mess if the whole game was that, like there's a lot of just, putting together the story by solving the clues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like you said, like a cryptogram or something. But some of it's just a matter of like, oh, this person did this, and maybe they worked here, and you have this business information, stuff like that,
Right.
Cool. So I'm guessing that's where the whole name comes from, right? Because it is supposed to be like a living organization of people trying to solve the same mystery to some extent, or
right. It's it's kind of almost a joke, in a way. So the Decoder Ring organization is supposed to kind of be a play on like a mix of like people on Reddit, who I'm also a Redditor, so I'm not making fun of them, yeah. But like people on Reddit getting together to try to solve like the Boston Marathon thing or something, or the excitement over Coney 2012, like they're gonna change the world. It's kind of like that's what the Decoder Ring organization is supposed to be, like a bunch of people that they have like good intentions, but you kind of are joining up with them, and then things kind of go off the rails,
So this kind of reminds me a little bit about, and I'm not an Overwatch player, but I kind of follow the community a little bit. But people were going and trying to decipher when and how and what Sombra was, which was one of the new like champions or characters or whatever that just got released for Overwatch. And like there were like these mystic clues all over everywhere on the like different websites and like stuff like that, and people were just trying to like put pieces together. So is it something like that, right? Just want people to go nuts trying to solve a mystery.
Yeah, I didn't follow that 100%, but I remember seeing it in the news. Yeah. It's not like 100%. Like some of those like ARGs get really intense. Like you have to reverse a video and run it through a picture program and then decode the Morse code that it spits out. Like I didn't try to make it so impossible to figure out. I wanted it to be accessible, to the general population, where you're not gonna hit like something you're supposed to solve and get really like flustered and start Googling it before you give yourself a chance,
Because you don't want you don't want people to overthink something when it's kind of simple. Just you kind of want to be like, take your time and figure it out. Because when you figure stuff out like that and you get that aha moment, it feels really good. Just be like, I found this on my own, and oh wow, that was very clever, and then you go on, and that keeps you interested in doing stuff like this.
Right, exactly. And like I found, like, for example, I took this out of the game, so I guess I can say it. There was one part where I had a bunch of people game test it, and there was some things hidden in the source code on some of the websites, and it was kind of complicated, and out of everyone that played it, nobody got it. So I was like, well, that doesn't work, has to go. So, yeah.
Like, it will probably work for, like I'm a programmer, right? So I'll probably try to check if you hit anything there. But, like, my dad, for example, he probably wouldn't do it, right? And, like, he will miss the entire point of that quest, let's put it like that, I guess. It could be a nice Easter egg, though, if you still want to, like, leave it there somewhere. Just like a little hint to something also, things to come or something, whatever.
Yeah, I still throw in some, there still is even some little things like that, but they're just not essential, And I try to make the game so even if you do miss like a lot of stuff, you're still getting the packages for the most part, and you're still getting the story. You just might miss some little tidbits and things like that.
It should be considered as EPC, extra package content, instead of DLC.
DLC, yeah.
Like, oh, I got some extra package content. What's this? Oh, it's a Cisco thing.
I should steal
$1.99.
that.
Damn it.
Free ELC. I should add that to the Kickstarter.
And now a question that I just thought about quickly was, so will you still get a package if you don't solve the clue? You have to solve the previous puzzle in order to get the next package.
Yeah, you should see the insanity I've set up. How I like when I was making this, I basically put all the clues on index cards and stuff, and I was rearranging them and in spreadsheets, insanity. But yeah, how it works is there's a set of clues that are constant, and they're set on the timeline, and you get them no matter what. And then there's brief periods of time where there's space for the extra package to come if they've solved something. I'm currently toying with the idea for the first season of kind of giving the extra content at the end so people don't lose anything. But I'm going to probably leave that up to the Kickstarter backers and ask them towards the end of the campaign.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great idea. So I know, like, for a game like this, the story is the most important element about it, right? You mentioned a little bit of it during your Kickstarter video, but is there anything else you can tell us about it that is non-spoiler, like, on a very simple yet even more, yeah.
What did he say?
The premise.
The premise.
If we were picking up a copy of a game in a shop and we looked to the back to find out what it was about.
Yeah.
This is the tricky part, like how much do I tell? But so I kind of gave the Decoder Ring organization, you kind of join it. They all have, the best intentions. You can see the video that's supposed to be their promo video on the Kickstarter page if you watch it. And they're all about changing the world. And if you watch that video, partway through, there's a little interlude in it, and I don't want to give anything away. It's so tough.
It's like if you watch the video, it kind of gives you a hint of what you're getting into.
Right.
Because
exactly.
it seems to be, I want to say, a murder mystery almost. That's what it's leaning more to. I'm assuming.
Right. I mean, the generic gist, which I kind of say in the project video, is, that it's the dark circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Julie Harrison from Moore County, Vermont, which is, made-up county.
I thought it was real. I thought it was a real place, yeah.
No, it's so I completely made
broke
up
the magic for Adrian.
Exactly. No.
That's a tough thing. I know I've been leaving it out of all the press that it's fake, but
a scoop. There you go. We got the scoop here. So now to move forward a little bit more, we talk a little bit more about the gameplay. You are basically solving puzzles in order to get new clues to continue with the story and the experience. What kind of puzzles are they? Like, are they letters that you read and you're trying to get code words or something like that, or what are some of the puzzle mechanics that you have there?
I have to think about this for a second. I don't want to. So yeah, a lot of it'll be there aren't too many Jeez, this is tough.
Take your time, man. Don't worry. About something.
Somebody sing a song, quick, while I think. No.
Well, before you say anything, have you looked at the game Her Story on PC?
Definitely.
Okay.
Actually, I had just finished playing that.
Okay.
Well, not just, but I had finished playing that recently after I had come up with the idea.
Will some of that kind of be incorporated in this? Like, if you solve a puzzle, and you go to the web to to give an answer, will something like Her Story come, where there's a video, and you kind of could check, different kind of testimonies and stuff, and that testimony might lead to maybe extra content or to the next puzzle. Would that some that be like inside the game?
That's exactly it. It's more like that than the like I said, the flipping a video and doing all that sort of stuff. There's extra video and audio that's all like unlockable. So besides the packages, you'll have that. Yeah.
Okay. Will there be any of those like Chinese photo ones? When you have to put it in the corner and you have to do this, the origami ones, and if you pick a letter and it said like A, or it'd be a number you pick 4. Yeah, those little things. Yeah.
That's
I'm sorry, I'm telling my
so funny
age.
you said that. That was actually like on the list of possibilities, but we scrapped it. We did scrap it though, so it's not in.
Oh no.
But that's an example that would be an example of a puzzle that someone who's a participator might be sent. Let's just
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That sort of thing.
So
I'm glad you said that. That's a perfect example.
So those are some of the puzzle types, I guess, that we can expect and not expect from the game, which is really awesome for sure. Now, like, how did you come up with this idea? You said that you finished playing Her Story sometime before you started working on this, but like, was there any other like inspiration, or like how did you come up with this?
It was a lot of things. So I finished watching or playing Her Story. I guess it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was listening to a lot of true crime podcasts and stuff at the time, like Serial, let's see, Undisclosed, and like also some creepy things like No Sleep podcast, that sort of thing. And at the same time, like there was just an Escape the Room that had opened up in our area, and so I was like, oh, maybe I should go to that.
Jealousy.
And then I know. And then like at the same time, a friend of ours who was into like the same sort of stuff, it was going to be her birthday, and we're like, oh, we should make a little something like that for her, a couple things, and so I was like, yeah, we should, and I started working on it, and then like before I knew it, like I had like a stack of things that I was, rearranging, and I'm like, this isn't just a like birthday present or something, it's getting insane.
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness, something just came to my mind. Thinking about doing something like that and going like to like Toys R Us or something and going to their dollar section and getting little different knickknacks, and those little knickknacks are clues. And to like she saw those clues, and it leads to a big present. Something like that. Oh goodness, I might have to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was just like, man, like it would be really cool if you were like have to go to like a bookstore or something, and like, one of the books that was like hidden in the tallest shelf has like a clue or something that takes you to another place, something like that. That would be like freaking awesome too.
Yeah, like. Oh, go ahead.
Just
Sorry.
curious. When you were talking about, some of the influences, one of the games that jumped to mind for me immediately was Trace Memory from the DS. Had probably some of the most brilliant, clever puzzles I'd ever come across. And I couldn't help but, wonder if, it's something that you had played at any point and gone, that's neat. Should do something with that.
I hadn't, what's it called? Trace Memory?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to check it out.
It was one of the first earlier DS games, and for the people, because I think it's from the people who made Hotel Dusk. Yeah.
It took the concept of the point and click adventure game like Myst, from back in the day, and they did some of the most brilliant puzzles that you could possibly do utilizing the DS hardware to make it more than just a logic puzzle, but to kind of physically put objects from the game into your hands.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, like along the same lines, like Myst was like an influence, of course, and right after we finished her story, I played it with my wife, and she was like, "Man, this reminds me of Seventh Guest," and I was like, "What's Seventh Guest?"
Oh,
And she's like, "What's Seventh Guest?" So she
oh my
downloaded it on her
goodness,
iPad.
that is a throwback. Oh my goodness.
That just opens the whole floodgates of everything Scum related.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, all that sort of stuff is definitely an influence.
Neverhood, Journeyman Project, Mist, all those, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, it's really cool to see that you got an inspiration from like many different sources and not just taking from one thing, which I think it really reflects on how like unique is your project. Like again, I spent a lot of time on Kickstarter and like I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. So it was super exciting to see. Like however, I can't stop wondering though, like why did you choose to go with Kickstarter? Like why made you decide to go with that platform and not something else entirely?
Well, there's a few reasons. One was that my friend had done one before, so I was kind of familiar with it. But the reason I actually chose it was because for a game like this, you can't really do like a Steam thing or something like that. You know, like there's physical things, like it's not digital. So, and I kind of I knew I needed to hit a certain number of people because a lot of the supplies for doing something like this I had to buy in bulk.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought through it and I priced out different things. You know, I had my whole spreadsheet and I found that I needed about 100 players. Like I could do a little less or a little more, you know, but that was my goal. So that's kind of how I based everything. And yeah, Kickstarter lends itself to that, like being able to set a goal. So
this raises a question then. Is Kickstarter the only way to get in on the game, or will anybody be able to subscribe and jump in, you know, once the Kickstarter closes? And if so, you know, how much for a season pass to get in on it?
So after the Kickstarter ends, that's the best way to get in on season 1. When the Kickstarter is over, you can still buy season 1. There's the abridged version, which is one box that you get all the clues all at once. And you play through it, you know, at your own pace, kind of, so you could binge play it if you wanted to, and you lose some of the coolness of it, you know, because it's not happening real time. You're not getting a package every couple days. But that's the way to buy it after the Kickstarter is over, kind of. And so, since it does play real time, it'll play season 1, season 2, season 3, and then we might start repeating them to get people caught up or into the game. But yeah.
How many seasons are you planning for it?
I have a real general gist for 6 seasons, the first 3 seasons I have.
Okay.
And if it's super popular after 6 seasons, I'll keep going probably. But
all right,
there you go. So like, and this was something that I posted on the group when I found out about the project. Was like about people who are like in the UK or like me in Canada, for example, right? The abridged version seems to be the way to go for pretty much anyone that is not in the US. However, the abridged version doesn't contain everything from season 1, right?
So it will contain everything that is in the story. There's some custom items to keep the costs low and to make it manageable, so I'm not juggling a billion seasons at once. I'll have pre-done abridged packages set up, so they're ready to just send. Yeah, and they'll be sent out after the season's over. I don't know if I mentioned that, just to make sure that people aren't ordering the abridged and getting it and then spoiling it for everyone else, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, however, like if, like, let's say that myself, right? Like I would like to get the full experience, right? Do you think that eventually you will have a way to get people outside of the US with the full season 1 experience that is not the abridged version?
I think with enough success, it might be possible. The tricky thing is sending things to other countries. I've done it before, and sometimes it'll
It
take
is
a week, and sometimes
Yeah.
it'll take months, depending on things getting held up. So that messes with the getting things real time aspect of it.
Yeah.
I had a thought on that. I could totally help your business out. Find yourself a friend, and like over in the UK, and one up in Canada. Send them everything they need to start distributing out, and once everybody's got everything, you start your season, and everybody can move in sync.
It's
That's
not
a
a
good
bad
idea.
idea. It's not too late to do so either. So maybe we solve the mystery right here.
There'll be a special thanks to Larry, like on the
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go. Hey, I'll be your contact here in Canada. I'll be the dude. I'm about to move to a bigger house. I'm gonna have a huge basement. We'll just throw everything down there. We'll just ship it in due time for sure.
Perfect.
But yeah, how like your Kickstarter, like it's doing good. It's 2,700 sitting on right now. How are you feeling about that number right now? Like, is that the goal that you expected to get in the first couple of days, or like, do you expect it to be higher, lower?
I really didn't know what to expect. Like you see some things on Kickstarter that just sit at 0 the whole time, and then you see some things that get on Kickstarter and they're at 2 million first day or something.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I feel like I'm at a good middle road, kind of. It could be doing a little better maybe, but I think it's definitely like on path to like exceed its goal. So I can't complain about that.
I think once you start, like, you continue to promote more and keep showing the little people, what they're in for, I think it will grab their interest and be like, oh, okay, I'm cool. I'll support this,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's so tough before you launch because there's not a lot to like. I have my website and stuff, but like it's not the Kickstarter. I can't direct people to the Kickstarter yet, so there's a little bit there. There are some services out there that you can use to kind of help around that, but I don't know. There's also a lot of people trying to scam people involving Kickstarter things.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think you're doing good. Like, I know myself, I've shared with like 5 friends already. I'm trying to like think like who else can I share with, because I don't know many people who will be invested. Like, they would like to invest their time on something like this. But the ones that I told already, I know they will be like really into it. So I'm like, yeah, there you go. Or like, maybe I'll try to get the abridged version for my dad not for Christmas, but for after Christmas or something, like maybe his birthday. I don't know.
I shared
We'll
it
see what
on.
happens.
I shared a video on my page and on my Twitter thing. I just got to start talking it up to be like, hey, if you guys are into mysteries, come look at this game. So I got to kind of start marketing it, getting it down pack, and hopefully help you get, hopefully you reach your goal and it comes out, because I'm really am interested in this.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
Put it up on our Facebook page too for the podcast, which means that a whopping 3 people saw it.
yeah, exactly. 3 people.
Well, I have.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Trust me, look, I have other groups that I could post it in, so I'll probably do that after our recording, just to get the word out, because I know there's a lot of people in my area who love to do ghost hunting stuff. Yeah, that's not very mystery things, but I'm just like, look, if you guys are into doing mysteries and finding out stuff and are into narratives, games like this, this is a good Kickstarter to get involved in and receiving these packages, because you guys love to do this stuff. So this would be a good thing for them. And plus, it's almost getting close to Christmas. So I don't know when you're going to start releasing it, but if it's before Christmas, it's a good Christmas gift to like get people involved. I should say.
Definitely, yeah. How actually, that's. Oh yeah, probably what I was about to say. Sorry, we keep cutting each other off.
You
but
first.
After you. So how it works around the holidays is, I didn't want to start giving packages before the holidays because people might be away or, that sort of thing. So the like middle ground I found is that I'm going to send an email out at the beginning of December.
Okay.
And that'll be worded kind of like, thank you for joining the Dakota Ring organization, And it'll kind of be like the rabbit hole or, the start of the trailhead. And so you can either, forward that to your friend you bought it for or print it out and give it to them. So, yeah,
That'd be cool.
definitely giftable.
Okay, Larry?
So speaking of gifting, for anyone listening that hasn't checked out the page yet, what's the cost of entry to get running on this for somebody?
So the abridged version, I'm pulling up the page right now to make sure I don't say anything wrong.
I think it's $45.
It's 45. Yeah. I forget the shipping on everything though, but 45 for the abridged version. It's 55 for the first season. The first 2 seasons are 105, and then for the first year, the 3 seasons is 140, and that's plus shipping on all that. But
okay.
So if you if you donate to Kickstarter, do you just get the first season?
Depends on which you choose, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It starts at the first season, but you can get up to all 3 that are set.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
And there's like a story that spans 1 season, and it, there's a little bow tie on the end, like it all wraps up nicely, but the story continues and with some of the same characters and stuff throughout the other seasons, so you can, kind of experience like a television show sort of thing, or just, do it as a one-off, depending on what you want.
Okay.
Gotcha. Pretty cool. So, just looking at the campaign and, talking about the project, I can't help to think how, where could this go? The possibilities are really endless, at least in my opinion, I think they are. So, where do you see this going? You said that you have, 3 seasons already planned out. You would like to do 6 in total, at least. Beyond that, let's say that it just blows and it goes all over the place. Where do you see this? All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We had a little bit of a technical issue. I'm pretty sure Larry will explain more about that, or already explained more about that. But anyway, let's go back to our guest here.
There's your explanation.
There you go. We're back here with Robert from Psychotic Media. We're talking about the Dakota Ring organization, which is his Kickstarter project that he's running on right now. So the question where we left on was, where do you see the project going from here? Like I mentioned before, you already have 3 seasons in mind, 6 hopefully, but beyond that, when it explodes, because it will, where do you see all this project going?
So I don't know where the thing cut off, but the big goal, if everything goes through, is, if it explodes even bigger than the Kickstarter, I would really like to be able to pull in guest writers and that sort of thing and bring in other perspectives and then give people a choice of which, they don't have to follow the 1 season trail I set. If they want to do, a guest season that wrote about, something maybe I'm not as well versed in or something, then, or, something completely off the wall, something with dragons or, whatever. Not something I would probably do with this, currently, but, give people that option, and bring other people into the creative process,
Cool. Yeah, like I mentioned before, I think the possibilities are endless. I think it can go anywhere. I can already see a time traveling mystery where you have to go back and forth between different time periods. That will be freaking out. That's my cup of tea. So I will totally play that 100%.
Okay, Doctor Who.
Exactly. There you go. You know me.
Haterade.
Yeah, there you go.
There's already a certain Tarantino element to the current season. So my wife said something similar, "Oh, time traveling, that should be." And I'm like, can you imagine how much crazier it'll be?
Exactly.
It's almost basically that already. So yeah.
I say go steampunk.
Steampunk.
That would have to be
So that
good.
might be a guest. That might be a guest season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because steampunk, steampunk Norrish. Ooh, steampunk Nor. That might actually work.
Yeah, it
Actually,
would
a time travel could be really fun just from the prospect of, you could have something totally planned out, and it's an option for somebody to subscribe, and they start getting all their packages out of order, and then they've got to start figuring out how to put it together in the right order to boot.
Definitely, yeah.
Figure out the story of what happened.
That would be fantastic. It would be so trippy, though. It would be awesome. But anyway, before we end the show, though, is there anything else you would like to say about the project?
I'm trying to think if I forgot to mention anything. I guess just some of the other influences. I know I touched on a few, but like Silent Hill was a little bit of an influence. This isn't completely off the rails or anything, but like I am a fan of like Twilight Zone and X-Files and that sort of thing. So, or like even like old like Alfred Hitchcock's
What about Scooby-Doo?
series. Scooby-Doo, yeah. There's a little bit of element to that just in the fake organization, the Dakota Ring organization, definitely. Yeah. No, I hope people really enjoyed it. I mean, I think it has, some things in common with, the true crime podcasts, which are popular, and subscription boxes and escape the rooms. And I don't know. I'm excited for it. I just, I know everyone else will be.
Now, do you like play? Do you collect like puzzle books? Like when you go to like Walgreens or Borders or something, they have like those value books, like magazines. Do you sometimes pick those up and like to do a nice puzzle? Or anything like that?
No, I don't actually, but I'll have to start, It'll be like part of the process now.
There you go. So like where can people find the Dakota Ring? Like what's your Twitter, like Facebook, like all those things?
So the name of the game is the Dakota Ring Organization, but the umbrella I'm putting everything under, in case future seasons are called different things, is just the company cyclopticmedia.com. And that has a link to everything. You can also find us on Twitter. We're Cycloptic Media. Instagram, we're cycloptic_media. And
what?
then
someone took the
I know, right?
What? That's insane. That should have not happened.
But we got Facebook, Cycloptic Media.
That page is owned by Scott Summers.
Oh, wow.
Gonna get that eventually. There you go.
I just got it. I'm just gonna check who's
I totally just overdrive on nerddom. Oh, right.
Would just be
another podcast.
A selfie would always have the reflection in the glasses.
Yep.
Look, like, are you sure it's taken? Because like I can't see it. Like it's not popping up on my search, so maybe it got available again.
Huh? I'll have to look into it right now.
Let's just do it right now. Mid podcast, it doesn't matter.
Like we say, we're a train wreck of professionalism.
Do you guys have any like last questions before we move on?
Rob, what's like your favorite? What's been one of your favorite TV shows or video games or anything that's in like that's in the realm of mystery? Or even comic books if you have been into any of them, like Dick Tracy or something like that.
Well, Dick Tracy's fun. I don't know. I think it's a lot of the things I mentioned. The Alfred Hitchcock sort of thing. I've been binge watching that a lot lately. It's on Netflix now, so. And then besides that, a lot of podcasts. I don't know. I've been a podcast listener lately. Maybe it is because I'm getting older. I feel like
it is the easiest media to consume. That's for sure.
Definitely. I'll be doing anything else, and I'm listening to horrific murders in my ears. So.
There you go. Hold on, before we go though, have you listened to We're Alive?
What was that?
We're Alive. It's like a zombie survival, like radio drama podcast. It's really good. It's probably one of my favorites. So
Oh, is it? See, I got to write all these things down. We're Alive.
We're Alive. Yeah. Anyway, Larry, do you have any final questions before we?
I do. I got one important, hard-hitting journalism question. We're gonna throw you on the spot. What have you been playing this week?
This is what I said on Nerd Overdrive. I've been playing Kickstarter. I've seen my wife. I've seen my wife playing Sims. That's all I've tangentially played.
Yeah, Kickstarter is like a full-time job, so I don't blame you for just like for that.
Side question, Rob. Have you heard of an anime called Case Closed?
It sounds familiar, but no, I'm not a big anime person besides like Studio Ghibli stuff, you know.
Oh, you know, but check out Case Closed. You might like it.
Okay.
All right. So I think that's it for the first half of the show. We're gonna take a short break again, and we'll be right back.
And welcome back, everybody, to World 1-1 Podcast. I'm taking over, your host with the most, the chocolate wonder with thunder, Mr. Eddie V. We're going to just have a random talk. So we heard our special guest, Robert, talk about his cool, the decoder ring, or coming soon. So you guys could check that on our first part if you skip half of the thing, which you shouldn't. You should really take a listen. A great interview. We have, once again, Mr. Adrian Nieto, and we have Sir Larry Giver also on the mic back with me. And we're going to just have some good discussion about some mystery movies and some mystery games and some what was it called again?
Oh, the Superboy.
A Superboy. And I'm going to actually hand this part over to Larry to talk about the Superboy. Give us your review.
So first off, guys, we're audio-only show, so you need to go check out the video for Rob's decoder ring organization so you can see, because he has a magnificent beard that almost rivals mine. Your beard is phenomenal. Just
that's funny.
I have a slight beard envy, so...
A friend contacted me that I hadn't talked to in a long time after I posted the video, and they're like, your beard, what happened? They're like, to publicize it, you need to put this on all sorts of beard publications. And
I'm so jealous that you guys can grow beards and I can't. I cannot grow.
If this was a beer off, Eddie will be last and Robert will win. So which will make me third. Yeah, will make me third. So that doesn't make me any happy. But I'm okay competing with men that have extraordinary beards. So
well, Adrian, your beard is more of a lumberjack beard. You got that nice lumberjack beard.
Yeah, that's the Canadian side of me. Just yeah.
Have you guys ever played?
Wearing like lead shirts and stuff like that.
Have you guys ever played Exploding Kittens?
I've seen it, but I haven't played it yet.
I guess like one of the rules is like whoever has the best beard gets to go first or whatever. My friend told me that, and I'm like, you're just lying right now, so I'll go first, right?
No, you'll be surprised how many, at least I've seen, like, tabletop games that have, you start the game by blank, and they just put something, like, incredibly weird and, like, cheesy as well. Like, who woke up the earliest? Like, what? How is that determine who goes first?
I probably will win right now since I have to be up at 3 a.m. for work. So I'll probably be like, I'm going first.
Like, who was the last person to have a bowel movement?
There you go. But anyway, moving on to the Super.
Yeah, so as far, no, this is almost bowel movement related because you can play this thing on the pooper. So, so I picked up yesterday it's called a Superboy, spelled Supaboy, Superboy, and it is a handheld, portable, all self-contained Super Nintendo that plays the actual Super Nintendo cartridges. So these cartridges stick out the back of this thing in kind of ridiculous fashion, but in such a manner that I just don't care because it's beautiful and glorious. It's definitely styled after the look of an old Super Nintendo controller, but bigger to contain all the necessary hardware. As far as hardware review goes, this thing's impressive. I'm digging it so far. It doesn't feel cheap. It's not super heavy, which is impressive given the size of this thing. This could totally feel like a brick if it was, solid all the way through. But it's solid enough that it doesn't feel cheap, like you're going to just snap it in your hands. We got a 3.5-inch screen on there, standard 4x3 format, like what an original Super Nintendo game would run before we had widescreen. The screen's not the greatest quality. It's got some issues dealing with certain things happening on screen, but it's not atrocious to the point where I would say avoid it. It's a decent thing. It's only a whopping $80. I certainly can't complain about it for that fact. Pair of speakers, built into the unit.
$80, which means like $200 in Canada.
Hey, not my fault. Your economy's fucked up.
Yeah, that's our brainchild right there.
So the sound on this thing, the speakers are actually not terrible. It does have some minor issues, like you can hear some weird feedback in the audio if you're listening carefully. It doesn't get anything real super low end, but what's there is solid. The mid and the high end is decent. Again, it's a handheld. You're not going to get anything spectacular out of it sound wise. The volume on it's actually kind of impressive. Beyond that, the buttons are fucking phenomenal. They're nice and clicky. They're not like you won't hear the click like you will with an Xbox One D-pad, but you'll definitely feel that click that you've hit the button. It's not this mushy, sloppy thing. They've got the actual mix of the concave and the convex buttons, just like an original Super Nintendo controller. It's spectacular. Not only that, it plays your Super Nintendo cartridges. It's also sized correctly to play your Super Famicom cartridges to boot. So for those that have some, old Japanese Super stuff sitting in their collection, here's a way for you to play it. I will say the D-pad felt a little stiff right out of the box, but I think it's breaking in nicely. I've been playing through Super Metroid since I got it yesterday, and the D-pad is starting to wear to the point where it's perfectly comfortable. The start and select buttons, since you've got a screen in the middle, have been moved up just over into the right of the D-pad, and there's a reset button over into the left of the standard buttons, the face buttons, and I think if I had designed it, I would have flipped that around, but truth be told, it's a minor complaint. You've got a nice little cartridge lock feature on the back of it, too, so that way you're It'll make sure that the cart stays secure in place. It doesn't wobble, doesn't wiggle, holds it nice and snug. When you pop your cartridge out, it also has a nice little dust flap cover that, spring loads up on it too, which is real nice. Help keep it in good shape. The shoulder buttons are also just gloriously, perfectly feeling. They've got that nice triggery snap to them. But no, it's an impressive piece of hardware. It comes with its own lithium-ion rechargeable battery. I've been playing through Super Metroid. I haven't run the battery dead as of yet. It did take a little while to charge right out of the box, but again, minor complaint. The other really cool thing, and I'll leave a link to it up on the Facebook page so you can see it, but there's an AV out on the top of this unit here, so you can plug it into your TV, and it comes with all the appropriate cords, because the AV out is like a little 3.5 millimeter jack that will split out into an RGA or an RGB cord. So you can plug it into a standard, AV in on your TV, and it's actually got a pair of controller inputs on the front of it, so you can actually plug in a pair of standard Super Nintendo controllers and just use it as a stock console to play on your TV and be able to play multiplayer with 2 people even. So it's a really nifty piece of hardware, totally worth the $80 that I did not spend on it because I had a 20% off coupon at the store and it was not for used only. So I spent my 20% off coupon on my Superboy. So yeah, go sales. But no, I'm really pleased with this. I'm totally keeping this son of a bitch at my desk at work, so I have something so I can sit there and play my Super Nintendo games at work. Yeah. Productivity just went out the window, guys.
So it sounds like, in my personal review grade, it sounds like 4 out of 5 Yoshi coins.
Oh, I would totally rate it at the $80 that it's priced at. The unit itself is nice. The packaging was actually nice too. It wasn't anything super fancy, but I mean it's a nice little box, neatly packed. Not a lot of extra garbage in the box. Even came with this nice little velvety pouch to keep it in. I do wish that there was maybe like a case for it that fit the unit when it had a cartridge in it. That's probably my only complaint. The charging port is a standard USB mini port, which reminds me, at some point, I have every intention of plugging in a charge cable into my Xbox One to charge the unit, and then put in my Super Game Boy and an old Game Boy, original game, and then AV out it to my TV and play it with a standard Super Nintendo controller, because it's probably the most ridiculous setup ever to play just a Game Boy game. The most unnecessary, convoluted way to play a Game Boy game. I found it.
Exactly.
But no, it's a nifty piece of hardware done by a company called Hyperkin. I've got no major complaints about this, really. I'm impressed. I've told my wife all summer long, I'm like, I will fucking have one of those, and I got one, and it's totally worth it. So yeah,
Sounds better than
I'm
Mad
pleased.
Catz.
Eddie, I'll definitely let you fool around with it when you come in here in a couple weeks.
Adrian, did you get any new pickups that you would like to review?
No, I'm broke. So I haven't been able to pick anything up.
Rob, do you have any pickups that you would like to review?
No, I don't think so.
Well, next week I'll talk more. Next week I'll talk more about Paper Mario Color Splash and Tokyo Mirage Session. I'll talk about that next week because those have been my latest pickups. But giving them a review, I'll talk about that next week. But we're going to get into our final topic of this episode. We've been talking about mysteries and adventure games and things like that. So I kind of want to know how did you get into mystery, to crime thrillers? Like, what was your first exposure to it? I know for me, it was Scooby-Doo and the Encyclopedia Brown. Like, those were my two things to get
That's
into.
not really mystery, though.
Yeah, but
that counts.
I'm talking about getting
For the
into
record,
it.
I fucking hate Scooby-Doo.
The audacity.
Shots fired.
I hate Scooby-Doo so much.
Oh no, Rob, remember that Final Fantasy discussion that Lee and Ray was having yesterday? I was just like, so I made a comment just like, I need to get my popcorn to see this debate.
Yeah, I forgot Ray was a fan of 6 so much. I mean, who's not a fan of 6? But yeah, more so
6
than
is
7.
better than 7.
Oh yeah.
9 is
Just
better
gonna throw
than
that out
both.
there.
12.
Like I said, I might be biased because I played 7 first, you know? So maybe it's whatever you played first. I don't know if you did it in order.
I played 6 before 7, and I think both games are like really great. I just like 9 and 12 better though.
Oh, God, no.
We'll have this discussion off air, Rob, if we have to. Trust me. But back to the question, Adrian, what made you get into? Haven't you even gotten into crime or mystery kind of things? Like, have you have any kind of interest, or what was your first introduction to it? At least,
I don't know, Sherlock, I guess, like many people. Does Castle count? The TV show? I really like that TV show.
If it's a mystery kind of show,
I mean, mystery. Yeah, like I put that on quotes because like I don't know, it's like fake mystery, at least on that TV show. Sherlock is a little bit more serious, especially the books, of course, not the movies. The TV show from the BBC is pretty legit as well. What else about mystery? I don't know. James Bond movies, maybe, question mark. Like, yeah, I don't think I'm the... Again, like, mystery usually comes hand in hand with, like, horror or, like, very gory stuff that I'm not fond of.
That's part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I'm not like, a super fan of those things. So, yeah, I can... Teen Titans, that's as much mystery as I can.
That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different kind of genre. Larry,
the issue with Teen Titans is why the hell did they make Teen Titans Go? That
is the bigger mystery.
Larry, what has been your kind of introduction?
You know, I'm not a big mystery nut. On occasion, via other things that I like, I will dip my toes into the mystery pool. There were a couple of good mystery episodes of Doctor Who that I really liked. And honestly, I think some of the ones that really caught me were the ones that didn't ever really have a resolution, like the episode Midnight with David Tennant, as much as I do not like David Tennant as the Doctor. He was probably my least favorite of the new Doctors since the show started up again in 2005, which I'm sure I'm about to be crucified for, but fuck you all, I don't care. You're all wrong. Suck it.
Suck it, Trebek.
Shots fired. So
no, I actually like Matt Smith better, so I don't care.
I don't watch Doctor Who,
ignore
so
Smith. Eccleston is still my favorite, though. But in any case, but no, a few of those, I don't know if I even call them mystery games because they're more adventure games. But I've said it before. I love stuff like the point and click adventures. You know, but most of the point and clicks that I played were ones like the Journeyman Project that had a sci-fi spin to it or a time travel spin, or ones like the Neverhood that had just that weird, strange feel to it.
Did Armor Croc have a mystery to it in a way, in a sense?
I mean, a slight one. Uh-huh. It's not as prominent, I think, as you got a mystery of sorts with Neverhood, though, because Neverhood you were getting the story, but you weren't getting the story in order. Okay. And so you're kind of trying real hard to piece it together, but you're only getting little bits and pieces all out of order. And so, but, you know, like I said, not a big mystery person, but there are a few. Trace Memory, there you go. That's a great mystery game right there. And I know I was talking about it just briefly earlier, but I just to share one of the examples of what that game did in terms of sheer brilliance of, you know, putting objects from the game into your hands. One of my favorite puzzles, and I'm about to wreck this for anybody that's never played it, but this game's like 10 years old, so spoilers, fuck you. There's
All right then.
You've had 10 years, get on it. But
I'll take my headphones off.
There's a puzzle, and I'll only spoil this one because there is so much other brilliance in this game in the design, where you find a picture frame. It's like a little 2-panel hinged picture frame thing sitting on a coffee table in a room, and you pick it up by clicking on it, and it puts each picture, like the left picture in the left on one of the screens, and the right-hand picture in the other screen. So, like, if you were to turn your DS sideways, it's like holding the picture frame, And
that's really cool. Yeah.
You pick it up, and you click it again to try and figure out what to do with it, but your character just puts it down and says something like, maybe if I look in the reflection, and you're just like, the hell am I supposed to do with this? Because we've spent years playing point-and-click games, being trained to manipulate things in-game rather than what's in your hand. And it took me by pure accident figuring this puzzle out because I was getting pissed and went to put the game down, where I went to close my DS, and if you fold it over, you can actually see the reflection of one picture, one screen, in the other screen, and if you line it up right, it creates a complete picture to give you the solution to a combination lock to move forward. So it literally puts the picture frame in your hand to manipulate. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So
cool. What about you, Rob?
I think I talked about a lot of them. I think like one of the earliest things I remember is probably my parents having like Unsolved Mysteries on in the background, something like that. Just around the house. I probably got into it again because of the Serial podcast, I believe. It's true crime, so it's kind of weird to call it mystery, but it is mystery, But yeah.
So question for you guys: Sherlock Holmes or Batman? Who is the greatest detective? Rob, I'm gonna start with you.
Well, you're about to anger a bunch of fanboys, so I don't think we should talk
I know
about that.
there's no way out.
Yeah.
Which Batman? No.
Oh no, there's a way.
Well, hold on. That's a very fair question, though. Because, like, if you say, like, who was the latest Batman? Not Ben Affleck. I forgot his name.
Was the latest Batman.
Oh, the one before that, and
Christian Bale.
Christian
Bale. Yeah. Like his Batman was like rubbish. He wasn't really a detective. He was just like a punching bag most of the time.
Well, I'm just speaking in Batman in general. Batman versus Sherlock versus Batman. Who would you pick as the greatest detective?
Well, but like it's different though because like there is many different Batman incarnations, but there is only like 2 or 3 Sherlocks though.
No, there's been more.
Who? Where are you getting these other Sherlocks?
Okay.
I'll take Brent Spiner Sherlock for the win.
I'm talking about Sherlock in general. You're trying to space this out. See, this is
the abstract ideas of these characters.
Can we let? Come on, Adrian. Can we let our guests answer the question first before we start having? I love you, Adrian. See, that's why, and then you get on me and Larry about saying this is a train wreck of professionalism. You are.
Because I'm trying to create a structure for everything.
Rob, can you Sherlock or Batman?
All right, I'll go with Sherlock. I think Sherlock.
Okay.
Batman's definitely a good detective. But he's got other things that he's good at, so give Sherlock some credit there.
Larry.
Hands down Sherlock. For the simple fact, I've never looked at Batman or Bruce Wayne or just the character in general as a detective character. He is the knight, he is vengeance, whatever. But a detective, not so much. Sherlock, on the other hand, is out there, that's it for him. It is straight up logic. Follow the clues, figure it out. You know, it goes to Sherlock hands down. And for the record, as Sherlock's go, Brent Spiner as Sherlock, you know, and the Star Trek Next Generation series was awesome. He wins.
Well, for me, it's definitely Batman. I love Sherlock, but Batman has always been a big influence for me with being as a detective. Yeah, he has some superhero things and he used a lot of technology, but he's so on point with a lot of his clues. And sometimes I really like how he goes about finding it and stuff and how he connects it and things like that. So Adrian, who would you choose?
I mean, depends on which Batman and which universe, which Earth as
Adrian,
well.
It's a general question. Sherlock versus Batman. Don't overthink this. You're overthinking it.
I'm Ravenclaw. I'm always overthinking stuff. Batman. No, I think, you know what, like, I think Batman is overrated, so I'm always going to go with Sherlock.
Ooh.
Yeah, now I made a bunch of nerds angry. There you go.
Slap.
Okay.
I'm
going to piss you all off because I'm going outside the parameters of the question, and I'm going to say the greatest detective, though, was Inspector Clouseau. Suck it.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Inspector Gadget. I was about to fall out and laugh.
I thought that's where he was going to.
Inspector Clouseau. The biggest idiot to ever make me smile.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to say the Doctor is the greatest detective.
But
there we go. Now we're just cross-solving all over the place.
Isn't it like on the 16th Doctor or something?
You know what? Shovel Knight is the best detective because Shovel Knight is always the right answer.
A Shovel Knight mystery game. Oh, I would put $100 for a Kickstarter for that just to get it.
His companion character is going to be Fetish Knight.
And we're going to continue with the next question. We're not going to recycle that. We have a special guest. We're trying to be professional. I know Robert's just like these guys. I'm like, dude, and they do this every week, or when they do get together, this is the fun and not cynical stuff that we have. But we enjoy it. We love things like that. So,
you could have listened to past episodes just to give yourself a heads up.
So before we close out on the show, and we start doing our plugs, Rob, would you like to say anything else about how to get people into mystery games, or like what should they look for into mystery games, books, or anything? If they're into crime, thrillers, and stuff like that, or not say they're into it, but if they're interested in getting into it, what would you recommend?
I think a lot of people are already into mystery, even if they don't realize it. There's, mystery elements to probably a lot of things that they already like, whether it's, Doctor Who or something like we were just talking about. But it's interwoven into pretty much every story there is, It's just a matter of, if you want to play a mystery game, like the dedication to it. Do you enjoy that satisfaction of solving something, So,
and also, do you recommend people playing the game Clue or Clue Junior?
Sure, play any game. I don't know. I haven't played that in a long time, but definitely, why not? Play a game. Get out there and play a game, right?
That's literally the actual only board game I could think of that deals with a mystery is Clue. I don't know why.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think of the Sherlock Holmes pipe and everything, yeah.
And with that, everybody, that's our episode. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. Before we get into plugs and stuff, Rob, you want to promote your Kickstarter one more time?
Yes, go get an awesome game. It'll be like presents in your mailbox every couple days, and it'll be weird, and maybe it'll freak you out, but you'll love it. And go to cyclopticmedia.com. That's probably the easiest place. Just go there, and we have a link to the Kickstarter right at the top of the page. And then there's a cool video you can watch, and another cool video you can watch, and a ton of information.
All right.
And before we finish going, I just drew Robert.
Oh, he looks like the devil from the Powerpuff Girls. What was you thinking?
What? No, he doesn't. Oh, actually, he
Wait.
does. Yeah. Sorry.
Post on the Facebook page now.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll
wait,
take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah.
Rob,
Definitely do. I'll post it too.
May I
All
ask?
right.
May I ask you this extra question? And I'm sorry, everybody. Have you ever thought about graffiti art or any different kind of art styles as an artist? I know you went to 3D art thing, but have you looked into doing different styles of art, like drawing or stuff like that?
Me personally, yeah. I mean, I did the comic book art for that graphic novel. I took, traditional oil painting classes and watercolor and all that sort of thing. And, I have some friends that do the graffiti thing. And, yeah, I think it's all good, I think, I don't know, anything to make the world more interesting, kind of,
All right. And Adrian, would you like to plug anything? Because I think you have a game in the company.
I love how you say it like you don't know about it. Yeah, you can just head.
Any of this.
Yeah, you can just head to the firstmachine.com. That's my company, indie game studio. You can check out the stuff that we're working there. You can check all our social medias there. I'm working on a challenge called One Game a Month on Twitter right now. So I'm working on a prototype. I'm writing a blog actually, or I was before we started the interview. That's gonna go up soon, so definitely check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And what game did Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I was gonna say I spied on your stuff a little bit after I talked to you. Yeah, I like the tuna thing's really funny. The fish or
yeah.
Yes,
you can get it for free. It's available now. It's on the App Store and Google Play. So definitely, if you listening to this, go and download it because it is actually a pretty fun game, even though it looks super silly.
But Adrian, what's the name of the title of your game? What's the name?
It's called Tuna Cycle. Like I said, it's free and available for iOS and Android.
Yeah,
it looked like Quap, but with fish, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And Larry, where can we find you before I do my 10,000 plugs that I normally do?
Out on our Facebook page, Larry is always right giver. I'm out there on Facebook. I'm on the Facebook page. I do watch that fairly consistently. We would love to hear from some of you guys, get some conversation going. Not that anybody ever does, save for maybe like one person. But, do watch the Facebook page because I do, keep my eyes out for when I see something of interest, be it, hey, here's a neat article or, hey, here's free games, go get some. I will post links to those articles and whatnot on our Facebook page for you guys too. So that's the thing.
That there's been a couple of people joining the past few days. So if you're listening to this, thank you so much for joining the group for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's Rob. It's been a wonderful pleasure to have you on our show. We would love to have you back. There may be something to discuss after the show too, just to see pitch an idea to you, see what you think, and depending on what you say, we may discuss that further on coming episodes. So.
I'm intrigued. A mystery. All right.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at @RetroCode. You also can find my own podcast, Optional Opinion, at SoundCloud, the Anomalous Radio Network.podbean.com, iTunes, Google Play, and other podcast apps. If you subscribe to Optional Opinion, you also will get World 11 podcast, which you can also find on iTunes, Google Play, archive.org, and other podcast apps. You can email this show at world11podcast@gmail.com, WORLD11podcast@gmail.com. You can find my writings at IGN.com under anime, ENIME. I have done the beauty of video game genres, so do check that out. I also write for the Digital Nerd Advocates, so digitalnerdadvocates.com. You can check my writings out for there. Skirmishfrogs.com. I write a series called The Moment, where I talk about how me reminiscing about old games and how they connect to my personal life. I'm also on part of Team Nerds, Team N3RD, where I just did my first review, professional video review for the game Recore for Xbox One. So do check that out on YouTube YouTube, and check out Team Nerd on Facebook also. And with that, everybody, you see, Rob, I do a lot. Trust me, I do a lot.
Oh, you forgot something. This month's game of the month for NVC Video Game Book Club. Eternal Darkness, absolutely glorious game. For God's sakes, get on top of it. Adrian, I am so glad you got your hands on a copy to play this month.
I am not happy about it, but that's my Eddie, by the way.
Done, dude. You will be. Adrian, drawing stuff. I need you to draw us a picture of Fetish Night.
Wow. Which also
somebody draw a picture of Fetish Night and send it to the Facebook page. I need to see it.
Which also reminds me, everybody, for Optional Opinion, I am having a discussion about Eternal Darkness. Also, I'm having a discussion of Rise of the Tomb Raider. So if you're interested, come find me on Facebook under Edward Varnell. And if you want to be on those shows, let me know. But once again, thank you, everybody. Have a good week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games that you play. Go check out Rob's Kickstarter. You can check it out also on our Facebook page. Share it on your page and share it with friends. Get the word out. And throw some money. Help the Kickstarter so he can reach his goal and we can get glorious gifts and a good mystery. And with that, everybody, we are out. Peace out. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.